sent a really cute video to Mike, and Mike's been really busy. But he's here to say, ooh la la, ah wee wee. Ooh la la, ah wee wee. Love you, Olive. And this is the dance that she did. I'm gonna do that tonight, just say,
you had no connection with it. But nevertheless, I have to ask you, who were his friends and where are they? There's something wrong. Why would they leave you alone like this? Unless it's a trap. And they intend to follow you from here.
Tell you what, you better come with me.
All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Reporting live from my sister's bedroom at my parents' house in Denver, Colorado.
Damn, son, you're tuned in to the Rap Yard Podcast.
There we go. What up, everybody? Thank you for tuning into another episode of Rap Yard Podcast. Um, Let me turn my mic up some. Check 1, 2. So we have a different kind of guest here today. She is a young woman out of Northeast Louisiana, where I live, and I've been watching what she's been doing online, mostly on Facebook, sort of doing independent journalism, taking down and exposing some of these corrupt areas or bringing light to things that need to be brought light to. So please welcome. I think her camera's working. Let's see, Amber Perez. Hey, you there? Oh, we'll give her a minute. What up to the chat? What up to people watching right now? We'll hang in there maybe. I know she's in an area where the internet is not so great right now because of the weather. So whether or not it clears up, we'll be able to carry on. We can reschedule this if we need to. In the meantime, let me find a YouTube video to play. Wait. Hello? Oh. Hello? You there? Yeah, I don't think the connection's good. We're going to check this out, and in the meantime, I'm going to play something. Let's see. I think I know something appropriate to play. Maybe. I would never play anything inappropriate. You know me. And I think about like playing like music and stuff, and it's like I got to find something really underground because, let me talk about this real quick. Actually,
You want to make
not that. So Wu-Tang Clan, they just dropped their shirts from their ice cream song video. If you know, you know. Let me share the screen. There we go. And I so wanted a French vanilla shirt ever since I was like a teenager. And these are the shirts, by the way. And they're like $70. So I was like, yeah, no, I'll pass. Or I can just get one off Etsy. Anyway, I believe our guest is here. So let me bring her in. Please welcome Amber Perez.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear and see you.
Okay, great. Something happened during the countdown. I'm not sure what, but hopefully it didn't happen again.
Right. I think it was showing your screen was black and I couldn't hear anything, but it was still showing you were there. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So what do you got there?
Oh, this is nice.
Okay, I thought you had a raccoon. Because thing about that.
He looks like a raccoon. I do. I love raccoons. Those are like my favorite animal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're something. They got thumbs. I think they're like the only like non-ape monkey animal that has thumbs like that, I think.
Yeah, I had one last year that I raised, and he was incredibly intelligent. He learned like he could unlock my bedroom door from the outside and get in.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because the way that I have my lock on my door, it just kind of like slides into place. and he learned how to like pat on the door just with the right rhythm to where he could disengage that lock. And yeah, it was really cute because when he was little, I would let him sleep in my room because I would have to feed him throughout the night. And I started locking my door at night to keep him out, and it didn't work. I would wake up in the middle of the night and he's right there on my bed.
A pattern? Okay, I wouldn't have figured that out.
Yeah, no, he was crazy smart.
Hmm.
I ended up releasing him back into the wild whenever he was just a little over 6 months.
Okay.
And it was a great experience.
Oh, so he was a baby and doing that? See, I can't even do that at 45. I never would have thought of that. It's like, oh, if I use the right pattern. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, I was trying to kind of give I guess a tagline for you or a description of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And but you're doing a lot. I think the best way to sum it up would be to just show like your Facebook page and kind of the stuff that you. But
Sure.
how would you describe it?
I got started in community advocacy. I have been working behind the scenes for a long time, advocating for people who just didn't have a voice or didn't feel like they had a voice. I would, attend court with them or attend attorneys' meetings or go to the school board, like whatever that looked like. I got really involved in immigration and helping immigrants complete their paperwork. And that's kind of how it started. I just learned a lot about politics through that. I'm no expert by any means, but I just started seeing things in a different light based on the experiences that my clients, for lack of a better term, had. And yeah, I don't know. It kind of switched into journalism, and
Mhm.
I use that as a tool for public pressure, but it's really probably the least of what I do.
Okay.
And most of the things that I do are behind closed doors and behind the scenes, but what the public sees is the journalism aspect.
Yeah. And so what year did you start doing this? Like the advocacy part?
Around uh-oh. Come here. Sorry, my dog just had puppies and she's
Oh,
not about it. Around 2018, I would guess.
uh, so
At least that's whenever I started doing it like well. Before
okay.
then, I was always helping out and doing what I could, but I really learned a lot by that point, and I was, I'd say full time, but it was volunteer work. So
Yeah. And so you're just basically, is it because you're bilingual that you were able to help people with like the immigration stuff and going to court and whatnot?
yeah, that was definitely a big bonus, but it's just where my heart's at is what it is. It's, I love people, I care about people,
Yeah,
and I want to help where I can.
right. So you don't get paid for what you do, basically. I mean, if people donate, that's one thing, but it's not like a paycheck job.
No, there
No.
have been times that, in the past where I've charged people because it's been a significant amount of work, but they went into it knowing that there would be a fee. A lot of the work that I do though is strictly volunteer based. I do get paid a very minimal amount on Facebook.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have any like sponsors or anything like that. That's where the real money comes in at. So I think people are really misguided on what those clicks and views actually gain. I mean, you see
I
a
wanted to talk
post
about
that
that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's not much at all. And so I work basically full time and get less than $300 a month off of Facebook. I mean, it's not much at all.
Yeah, I get less than that off of all the platforms I'm on. And I mean, I do
Yeah.
think people assume stuff like they might see that I'm like hanging out with some celebrity or like, I got a bunch of like, Instagram followers or something. But if
Hmm.
anything, I poured thousands of dollars into this. I'm in the red by far.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I stay in the red. The public records request and gas and time and all of the expenses that go into it, definitely there's not any gain there. And
yeah,
that's okay with me. But I wish that people did understand that a little bit more because I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't want to.
right, right, right. Um, and so when you're going into like a court situation and you're helping people out, is it like I'm sure there's like an express like statement between you and the person, like I'm not an attorney, et cetera, et cetera. Um,
Yeah.
is it kind of like is there a title for that kind of stuff? Like advocate maybe?
The title that I used previously was linguistic consultant,
Okay.
and I used that because my the primary work that I was doing was between the Hispanic community, and oftentimes they didn't speak the same language as their attorney. So I was working as a translator, or I was helping kind of bridge that cultural divide where maybe they're using an app to translate, but it's not really making sense, because we
Right.
have phrases that we use that don't translate word for word the
Or
same
don't
way in
translate
our
well. Yeah,
culture.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, or helping people understand in general, there's been families that have moved here from another country, let's say Central America to the US, and they're having issues in school, and it's a difference in laws, the way that our laws are set up here versus there, and
Right.
helping each party understand the other perspective. That was a lot of what I would do, is maybe not necessarily in the school setting, but just helping people understand the differences through language.
Okay. I mean, that's important, and that's a very noble thing to do because there's not. I mean, even if we had around here some kind of resource for that, which I'm sure in other cities they do something like that, social work or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, that's not to say that it would be utilized properly because, like so many parts of our government, it would be corrupted. I'm sure, or it would be like neglected or whatever. And I'm speaking
Yeah,
about
and I saw that a lot. I mean, I definitely in our area, I don't know of any other services. I mean, there's other individuals who do what I do
really.
on the translation side, but I don't know of any services that are, and it's not to say that they don't exist, but as far as I know, there's not really anything like that. When I lived in Dallas, there were some services, but what ends up happening is they turn into a nonprofit, they're getting grants, and then the follow up is not there. People start getting paid big money, and all of a sudden the services start sliding. And that's one reason why I've tried to stay away, especially from monetary gain. I'm not very money motivated in general, but I've never wanted it to become a barrier between the work that I'm doing or a
Yeah.
distraction.
Mhm.
So it's definitely, it's a problem, but there is a solution to it, and I'm trying to be that solution.
Okay, so you feel like the solution is just more people like you that are willing to do it and not do it necessarily just for money?
I mean, yes and no. I think that nonprofits in general need to have more regulations.
Mm,
And that's not to say that, nonprofits are bad, but there's definitely loopholes in every system.
mhm,
And there's a loophole there where, money starts to become untraceable. And when you're dealing with federal grants and tax money, I believe that we deserve to know where it's going.
mhm,
And so, I mean, it's just one of those things where it can be abused, and where there can be abuse, there will be abuse. And
yeah,
so I believe in stricter guidelines. I actually opened a nonprofit this year myself. And the only reason that I did it was to show that the form of transparency that I'm asking for from nonprofits is possible, and it's easy without being obligated to do it.
mm,
And so that's why I started it, so that I can show all of my financial transactions without anyone asking, without going online and pulling my 990 at the end of the year. You can just see where the money goes.
yeah,
Um, and I created it basically just to create an example.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if I know there were some changes to the laws recently, like within the last couple years. Um, but my understanding of it from before then was nonprofits had to disclose all their financials every year.
They do to a certain extent. There's limitations on like how much they make, and what tier they fall into is how much disclosure there actually is. And there's just so many ways to cover money,
Yeah,
and that exists in every business, and everywhere that there's transactions, there's the ability to hide money. It's just
yeah,
my personal belief that the public should be able to easily trace where grants and tax dollars go when they go
sure.
into a nonprofit. And I don't mean private donors. If you were to donate, to a nonprofit, I don't expect them to tell me exactly how your specific money was used.
Mhm.
But when we're talking about tax dollars, yeah, I think that there should be a lot more transparency,
Well, there's
not just with the IRS, but with the public in general.
yeah, yeah, and they are actually supposed to if say if a donor gives you money for like you have a daycare that's nonprofit and they give you money for a new
Mhm.
slide, you're supposed to use every penny of that donation for a new slide. You know, you
Right.
can't use it for the swing set. You can't use it for the gravel. It has to be the slide. So, and a lot of people don't
Yeah.
know that, or they ignore it, and that. But and churches too. Don't get me started.
Not going
Yeah.
there.
Same. So here's your Facebook page, a little bigger. So it's kind
Yeah.
of just like a regular, like individual Facebook page. But here's some of the. I guess I'll go on the. There we are. Hello.
Yeah.
I guess a lot of this is Mike Eccles oriented as of late. Did you want to touch on that at
Yeah.
all, or like
Yeah, we can get into it. What would you like to
what is his
know?
current position? What is his role? He's running for Congress, I know, but
Yeah, he's a state representative right now.
okay, I can remember. Is he on the police jury also, or is that no?
No.
I don't know if you can do both. I don't know, but
Nothing would surprise me. I don't know either, but surely not.
yeah, I don't think so. So, and he may have been at one time. Someone can correct us on that if they want. But
I don't think
yeah.
so. He was on the city council of
There you
Monroe.
go. That's what it was. Okay. So what started this conflict, I guess, between you and him, or what's going on there?
Yeah, so actually I just made a video today. I haven't posted it yet, but I will be posting it later if anyone wants to go check it out. And I'll be glad to go over basically what that video says in detail here as well. So whoever's listening kind of get the first view of it.
Mm,
But what happened is I was looking into Meta and I was just I noticed a lot of overlaps, like um this company is also on the board of Grow Nila and they're friends with this person. And it just all like it's very obvious to me from the outside looking in that there's just a lot of insider information being passed around that's not known to the public or wasn't known to the public beforehand. And that's kind of where it started. I mean, that's what it appeared to me. And so I started looking into Grow Nila. And from there, I came across an individual on their board named Seth Copeland,
mhm.
who owns Copeland Electric. And he was kind of the connection that brought Mike Eccles into the picture. To be honest with you, I don't know that I would have recognized Mike Eccles in Walmart
Mm.
before all of this started. Like I knew his name. But I didn't pay attention to him. He wasn't on my radar. I'd gotten a lot of tips in my inbox about him, but he just, for whatever reason, he was just way out in left field for me. It just wasn't an avenue that I was looking at because I was so focused on Meta.
Right.
Um, and I was trying to figure out like why the public didn't have all the information beforehand. And so I wrote an article back in, I want to say it was like March 21st or something. Don't quote me on that, but it was
Mhm.
around then. And it was called The Network Behind the Deal. And
Okay.
it was talking about Grow Nila, the overlap with the board and the vendors. And you can look at like board members and sponsors and donors, and it's just like the same people repetitively.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I wrote an article about that, and I mentioned Mike Eccles briefly. He was like a footnote mention, just saying, that he had a business with Seth Copeland and that he had started an energy-based business. And I was just kind of raising the question, like, was this because of Meta, or like, how did this, come about?
Yeah. Their
And that was pretty much. I'm
Their
sorry.
website is terrible, by the way. It's like
Oh,
defunction.
yeah, probably intentionally. So he was very briefly mentioned in that article. And for what it's worth, before I published it, I did try to reach out to his office.
Mhm.
I didn't get a response, but I genuinely thought he probably didn't even get my message. Like,
Yeah.
I reach out to people all the time and I don't hear back, and I can only assume they're super busy or they don't get the message or I called the wrong number. Like, there's no telling.
Right.
So in that article, the network behind the deal, I tagged him in it because he was the only person that I knew for a fact or suspected that didn't know that he might be featured in one of my articles. Everyone else I knew had gotten the message, or I had confirmed one way or another that they, weren't going to respond to my comment or respond for comment. So I tagged him in it, and almost immediately, I think I posted it like late at night, and that morning I woke up and there was a comment from him.
Mhm.
And it was a really long comment and it was very insulting. I mean, he was like calling me like a crappy journalist, and that it was a hit piece, and he started talking about his real estate business, which wasn't mentioned in the article. The only thing that I had mentioned, as my memory serves me, was just that he was a real estate developer. Like, it was kind of in his title of who he was.
Mhm.
And he put a lot of focus on his real estate
That's
business
interesting.
in his comment. Yeah, and he was accusing me of slandering him, and I'm like, wow, like,
Yeah.
it just immediately came off very defensive.
Yeah, yeah.
And not only was he defensive, but he was being very offensive. Like, he was, calling me names, and it was extremely
Is
unprofessional.
that still up?
And so, I'm
I'm
sorry?
sorry, is that still up? That post? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and the comments should be there as well.
Okay.
But I after that, I posted a lot of our interaction.
Mhm.
I immediately messaged him on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, now that we're connected here, can I set up an interview with you? Like, you're saying that I'm slandering you. Let's clear the record. Go back and read it. I was very nice, very professional.
Mhm.
And I maintained that composure throughout our conversation. He was very dismissive, very rude. He kept saying, like, if you wanted to contact me, you could. There's my cell phone number. You can find me in Baton Rouge. There's my radio show, whatever. And so basically, he narrowed it down to the only option that I had to contact him was going to be on his radio show.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that at first. I still to this day don't want to do it, because it's not a level playing field. You call in, he's the host, he can interrupt and cut you off at any time. And I knew that I would be setting myself up into a trap that I wouldn't even get to ask the questions or get the answers. And so I declined that offer. But once it became clear that it was the only way that I was going to be able to talk to him,
Mhm.
I went back and I'm like, fine, I'll call your show. I sent him a message. I commented on his radio show, like, Facebook page. I made a post and tagged him in it. Like, I'm calling.
Mhm.
Um, I call in live on Facebook, and I called live because I wanted everybody to be able to hear the conversation for themselves. I didn't want to summarize it. I just wanted it all to be out in the open and transparent.
Yeah.
As soon as I called, he was like, the guy answers, and he's like, there's a last minute change, and Eccles is not in today. There's a guest host.
Mhm.
And so the conversation didn't happen. To me, it was pretty obvious. Like, at this point, he was just avoiding me. I had reached out through his cell phone number, like he asked me to. Reached out to his radio show. I even followed up with the producer to ask to get on the schedule.
Yeah.
No response. So I got invited a little bit later to I'm gonna say this wrong. I think it's the Washita Parish Women's Republican Group or something like that.
Yeah.
They had a meeting where he was going to be speaking at, and someone invited me, several people actually,
Interesting.
and I decided to attend because I'm like, well, here's my chance. I can ask him a question.
Hmm.
And I get there, he goes to every single table to say hello to everybody but ours. Never made eye contact, wouldn't look at me. It was really bizarre, and it was one of those moments where, like, you could cut the tension with a knife.
Well, what was the purpose
It was
of inviting
fairly.
you to that, do you think? If he was
I'm
What
sorry.
was the purpose of him inviting you to that, or people inviting you
No.
to that convention? Was it
Yeah,
because he was gonna
yeah.
be there?
So yes,
Okay.
several people invited me. And a few of those people specifically said, like, we're Republican women and we want him to answer these questions. Like, come ask him your questions. They wanted him to engage in this conversation because they also were concerned about,
Okay.
the questions that I raised in my article. And I think after people saw the way that he responded to me, it was just kind of like, okay, he's avoiding you. So now we really want to know
Right,
what he has to
right.
say. So I go to the event, and I just kept it down to one question because I didn't want to take up the time of the other attendees. And, I know that they might have things that they wanted to bring up as well. Um, and when I stood up to ask the question, he, like, gets his phone out and he's, like, recording me, I guess trying to intimidate me or something.
Like,
Yeah, there's a picture on my Facebook from the event,
yeah.
and, like, a recording of me asking him the questions, and you can see, like, he, like, propped his phone up to, like, I don't even know. It was really weird. Um, so I asked the question, he kind of dodged it, and then he came back and gave me a roundabout answer, and that was that.
Hmm.
After the meeting was over, I walked up to him and I'm like, hey, like, let's clear the air. Like, let's just sit down, like, I'm not after you. Let's just sit down and talk. And he gave me a look and he was like, I'm a very busy man. I'm running for Congress. I don't have time for you.
Hmm.
And I'm okay, understood. From that point forward, I believe, is when he blocked me across all of his social media accounts. And mind you, I like, I don't harass this man. I've texted him twice.
Right.
I have called him maybe 2 times. I think I left a voicemail once. And then there's our Facebook exchange, which I posted for the public to
Right.
see. That's it. That's the only time that I've ever spoken to him. So I was pretty shocked that he blocked me from his accounts. Um, and furthermore, he was commenting and engaging with people about me on his account, and I couldn't even defend myself or say anything. And it was just, for a representative to treat a constituent this way, it was really shocking, and
Right.
it really sparked my interest. I'm like, something's wrong
Really
here. This
disappointed.
doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
he wants you to go away real bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I did was I went back to his comment and I read it again, and I'm like, he's, like whenever the cops are doing a drug bust and they go check the door that you're standing in drugs.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of the thing for me. I was like, he keeps mentioning the real estate business. Like, this must be where the problem's at,
Yeah.
And I started looking into it, and I just noticed that he had proposed some bills that directly profited his businesses and the projects that he was working on. And it's like a repetitive thing. If you watch the video that I'll post about it, I'll go into a little bit more detail. But it's
Okay.
like, there's a bill that ended up passing that only includes the addresses that he owns, with the exception of one. And that one's in between 2 properties that he owns. And he gets like these tax credits on it and all these tax incentives. And I'm like, well, it would be one thing if he's investing in the area and everybody in this area is getting the benefit, but to limit it down to the properties specifically that he owns is pretty odd.
Right. So for people that don't know, downtown Monroe, Louisiana, is kind of in shambles, for lack of a better term. If you've been to other cities, like if you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah. It's a lot of blight. It's a lot of just abandoned buildings, but some of them are really cool old historical buildings that maybe they could fix up someday if there's like still all 4 walls there, but it looks like a fallout basically. So but it's weird because like a lot of gentrified areas, it's like you have that, and then right next to it you have like the most expensive hotel in not even the city, in the region. That's his, and then there's the whole row of shops. There's like a couple restaurants, a pool hall, a coffee house, and he owns all of those, right? Like that whole block.
Yeah, he owns several properties. I don't want to like go on record and say exactly which ones off the top of my head, but yeah, he owns a lot of properties down that way. He owns the Miller Roy building, which is like an affordable housing apartment complex. He has Hotel Monroe and some other buildings, and I'll give him credit where it's due. Like, the renovations look great. His wife is obviously an amazing architect. She did the work on that, and I mean, in terms of restoration and the way that things look, they look good, but 2 things can be true at the same time. You can have a beautifully restored building, and you can also have something that might not be ethical. And then it's the ethics side that I'm looking into. The same kind of thing is happening in Ruston, where what seems to be like these behind closed door deals with these great tax incentives that are not they're not happening like for the average person.
Right.
And the more that I looked into it, the more pushback I got from him in terms of, originally it was, you can find me anywhere, call into my show. And then it was, oh, well, I'm not going to give a time and attention to this person. She's desperate for clicks and views.
Didn't you
She's
say
a
that
terrible.
George Soros was funding your
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, he insinuated that I was being paid by George Soros, or the radical left. And
just
what's
for the
that?
record, I'm just saying, for the record, I don't think George Soros knows who you are, who I am. I don't think he cares. I'm not sure why
he probably doesn't even know who Mike Eccles is, if we're being honest.
Exactly. No, and neither does Donald Trump. But
Right.
That's crazy. That's that's such a reach. That really should
Yeah,
that.
it
It's
it
so delusional.
it was like laughable.
Yeah.
Like when I
Me
saw that,
too.
I'm like, surely you don't believe this. Like, anyway,
Yeah.
but that was the first angle that he took. And then, like I said, he pivoted over to like, she's a crappy journalist who just wants clicks and views, so I'm not going to give her any attention. But I didn't go away. I kept publishing my articles. I kept looking.
Mhm.
And during this time, there like some news broke that his family last year had received death threats and an arrest warrant was going out for this person now. It was the first that I had heard of it. And so because I was looking into him, the first thing that I did was go on my social media and say like, hey, I don't support political violence and I encourage my followers like go in the comments and leave him some words of encouragement, put political differences aside because a healthy democracy doesn't promote this kind of behavior. And I
Right.
stand by that today. Like I wish him and his family well and safety and all of those things.
Mhm.
Um and, of course, there wasn't any response from him. But the response that I ultimately got was he made a Facebook post last Sunday and it was really bizarre, but it was vaguely addressing some of the points of my articles. I mean, it was obvious that he was talking about me because it was
I saw that. Yeah.
it was like point for point stuff that I'm talking about, but it wasn't answering the real questions. It was answering the easy ones.
Mm.
Um, but he's like, these people are being paid by Wall Street and Washington and dark money, and he even lumped me in like to insinuate that I was part of the political violence,
Oh
and
wow.
that's when it turned like personal for me
Yeah.
because not only are you avoiding a constituent or a journalist, an advocate, like whatever you want to label me as, but now
Yeah.
you're labeled.
Well, that's not cool. You know.
No,
to
not at
to
all. Yeah.
I'm listening. Keep talking. I'm letting my dog out right here. He's freaking out. Hold on. But keep
Yeah.
talking.
So I mean, for me, it was just like, not only are you going to ignore me, but you're also going to lump me into like a group of radicalists who are threatening you online, and that's obviously not the case.
Well,
Um,
so
and
so this happened a year ago with him. That he's saying
the
that
thr-
this
the
the
threats happened a
yeah,
year ago, I believe. Yeah, and they just got an arrest warrant recently.
that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting that it would take that. I wonder. I don't know. I mean, I hate that, and I hope
hmm
they find out who did it. But what is there any more information about it? Like,
Yeah, they arrested the guy. It was
okay, okay,
some kind of thread on Twitter. I really don't know a whole lot about it, and I've intentionally avoided even
okay,
speculating on it just because, um, if it's political violence, I don't approve, and
right,
the law will work itself out from there. Like, if he's done something wrong, then he'll be held accountable for that.
right,
But this is not a person like I mean, he lives in Delaware, like I don't, that's
that's
all that I know about him. I can't even pronounce his name.
cool.
Um, and so, being lumped in with that was pretty shocking. And he made some insinuations in his comments that he was going to be filing some papers in the morning. I took it like he was going to be filing a lawsuit or something.
Okay,
Um, and as of today, I've not received any paperwork from him. He did receive a cease and desist from me, but that cease and desist was not to, I didn't ask him to stop talking about me or stop talking about my reporting. I asked him to stop intentionally lumping me into groups that I'm not affiliated with, I'm not being paid by, and I'm not promoting political violence. That's what I asked for.
okay,
Um, and, he put out a radio commercial this week, which was basically his Facebook post just on air.
mm.
And, that's a lot
After
of
the cease and
attention that
desist,
you're giving to somebody that you're supposedly ignoring.
that you're too busy to address,
Too busy
right?
to address.
Yeah,
And the further that he pushes with that, the more I want to know what's going on. The
right.
more I'm like, what are you hiding?
Mhm.
And so I've looked into it further and, I found some more things that I found to be extremely interesting. And people are reaching out to me like crazy. I have so many
Yeah.
tips that I have to go through because they're like, this is just not right. Like I've known this person for X amount of years and I can tell you so many things. And I'm not going to get into the hearsay.
Yeah.
I only report what I can either verify or have enough evidence to raise a reasonable question, not just say, well, so and so said, this.
Yeah.
Um, and if it's not like a firsthand experience, then I need some documentation to back it up.
Sources. Yeah.
And so that's where we're at with it all. I don't even know what to say. I think it's pretty obvious at this point that he's concerned. There is a political attack going on against him right now, and it has to do with similar things that I'm reporting on.
Hmm.
So
What do you
back
mean by political attack?
There is a Republican group in South Louisiana that
Mm-hmm.
is raising the same questions that I am and saying that he's using policy for profit and self dealings. And
Mm-hmm.
so, because of the timing of my reporting and the fact that he's running, that's why he was able to say, and like, oh, see, she's working with them.
Oh,
Um, and it's not that, it's just that there's two different groups of people, probably more, that have the same concerns. It's
yeah.
not that there's any relation there. I don't know a lot about what they're doing and saying. I've seen some flyers or mail. People send me pictures of things that have gone in the mail.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't really want to get into that too much because I don't know a lot about it. But I know that it's a Republican group who took credit for it. And I mean, that's his side of the aisle. And those are his people. And they're saying something's not right here. And, they're trying to expose him for it. And that has
Right.
nothing to do with me. It's just, maybe you've messed up. Maybe you need to be accountable, or maybe you could sit down and clear the record and clear your name through a conversation, but you're not willing to do that. Instead, he's actually attacking and I would say slandering me instead.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's wild.
Well, it's kind of like the old saying, if you don't have anything to hide, then, you wouldn't be hiding kind of thing. But,
Yeah, and
I'm
I've
glad.
offered, and the offer still stands. I've offered I've offered an audit of my finances, even though I owe that to no one as a private citizen.
Mhm.
If an independent auditor wants to audit my finances, and
Mhm.
if he'll agree to the same, let's see who's hiding, let's see who's being paid by whom. And it's audit for audit, apology for apology. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize. If he's
Yeah.
wrong, he should apologize. But he hasn't accepted that offer.
Right. So let me pull this up real quick. This is right here. My God, my dog. Okay, so this is looks like
Yeah.
him. Is this him texting you or?
No, that's his Facebook post. There's several pictures attached to that, so you might want to go back
Yeah,
one
to
or
the beginning.
two. Yeah. I mean, it was long.
Okay, this is his most recent thing.
He posted that on Sunday.
Okay, that's what I read. It was just in a different format.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like a flyer or something. So, and these are the actual receipts. These are
Yeah. Those
uh
are screenshots of grants and federal loans because one thing that he says all the time is that I've built this, with my own resources and my own money. And that might be true to some extent. Like I'm sure that there are loans involved, but
mhm,
there's also a lot of federal grants involved. There's a lot of tax incentives that are from policies that, he specifically voted for or
yeah.
brought before the Senate himself. And um so I just posted the public document, like, it's not all your money. There's grants here. And it's okay that you're using grants, but let's talk about the fact that we're using grants instead of teach the public how to do that. You know,
Mhm,
Te- like teach the common person how to get a grant of that caliber and restore downtown Monroe so that the entire city can thrive and not just a couple of blocks, that you own.
mhm. I'm so sorry. Hang on one second. So you were talking about how your raccoon could open the door. So my dog just he was crying and crying and crying, and then he just like head butted the door in, and yeah, here we are.
He
Um,
learned something from the call.
yeah, he was listening. Bad influence raccoon. Um, yeah, and I don't want to get hung up in this Mike Eccles stuff too much, but it's related to the Meta stuff, right? And Meta, for those who don't know, is building Meta is building a huge AI data center in Rayville, which is about um 40 minutes outside of Monroe, maybe. But
Yeah.
it's like the size of Manhattan, or like a half this. What is it?
It's
They compare it to Manhattan all the time.
Yeah, it's not as big as Manhattan, but it's close. The site that they have now, and there's more phases to come, but just the site that they're building now is 5 miles long.
Oh wow.
And that's one continuous construction site that just kind of popped up overnight. And the residents in that town, they didn't know about it until it was done. And there's supposed to be all of these jobs and all of these opportunities for
That's what
locals,
they
but
that's
yeah,
what
but
they
I mean that's not the case.
right. With any sort of industrial big project like that, a lot of people that are in rural areas look forward to it because it's like a plant, like a Dow plant or ExxonMobil or something. It's like jobs, jobs, jobs. Now,
Right.
while it's true that there may be some people that have gotten jobs because of it, they're not going to be there forever. And I think it was even, I don't know if it was Mike Eccles or the mayor of Monroe, but somebody said something about, and this guy over here, he has a food truck that he started. I'm like,
Yeah.
like big picture here. Probably they
Yeah.
projected 500 jobs when they opened this place, the size of Manhattan, whatever. And I think they've hired maybe half that, and most of the people are out of state. So they're contractors that are from out of state. When all those people are done building it, there's only gonna be, like, a handful of people that still have to work there, which is, like, maintenance, IT, really specialized IT, probably won't be
Mhm.
from here, and then, like,
Mm-mm.
security. So,
Right. Yeah, and I
uh
actually interviewed some people out that, that have food trucks and whatnot. And it was interesting because one couple in particular, they sold their business that they had out there for farming because it was based on, my memory. There's an article that I wrote. You can go back and read it if you like. But they sold their business in Holly Ridge because it was no longer really useful to them because of the plant, and they bought a food truck, and they are parked like way outside of the Meta Center. They aren't even allowed to take their truck in. Like there are lots for food trucks to park in, and like the preferred vendors are out of state, and they can't even like get in touch with the right person to become a preferred vendor, and they're local, they live right there. And so yeah, there's food trucks, and there are people who have been able to take good advantage of this opportunity and turn it into something, but like you said, it's temporary. um, and what we're going to be left with, I'm afraid, is rent prices are already doubling and tripling, and
mhm,
there's not an economy to support that outside of the Meta workers who are transplanted here, and they have all
right.
these per diem and different types of pay that cover housing and the locals. I mean, my best friend was forced out of her home to accommodate for Meta
Wow,
workers.
wow,
And yeah, and she had to move. She had like 5 days to move. They just served her a notice to vacate, and she had to get out. um
wow.
and that's the reality for locals.
Mhm,
It's not pretty.
and it's not gonna get any better anytime soon, because when the project's done, like, they agreed to it before they started building it, before anybody knew about it, and now it's pretty much done being built, so, this is just
Well, no, it's not almost done. It's very much in the beginning phases. I mean, there's more phases to come that they haven't even
like,
started on.
building it out and stuff? Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
are they have
there's
they built
there's
the
still
gas
a lot of
plants?
work to be done.
Have they finished all the gas plants that they're supposed to be
I'm
installing?
not sure about that. I mean, to be honest with you, when I got into the Mike Eccles story, I kind of stepped away from Meta, so I'm not quite as up to date as I was a couple months ago.
Mhm,
What I can tell you is that the entire I-20 corridor, you're going to see a lot of industrial movement there. Washita
mhm,
Parish, East and West Carroll Parish, Richland Parish, Cato Parish. I mean, just across the entire I-20 corridor. It's
Mhm.
coming, and it's coming quickly. Solar plants, data centers, Amazon. There's I've heard talks, I've heard very credible talks of Google and Tesla.
Yeah,
You know,
I've heard that as well. And they pick these areas, these types of areas, especially in Louisiana, because of the huge tax breaks that we give. Where most states, pretty much all the other states, if you set up shop there, you have to pay taxes like any other corporation, right? But in Louisiana, they have this group. I don't know what it is. They're not elected, and they basically decide how much of a tax break these different big corporations get when they set up shop here. So I don't know exactly how much of a break they're getting, but imagine, like, say, Dow Chemical, if they weren't getting like a whatever it is, 70 to 90% tax break, how much money that could go towards Louisiana schools and roads and all those things we're famous for being terrible at,
right. Well, there's also a lot of water here.
Yeah, that
Um,
too.
our ground is really wet. I mean, we are the wetland of, of America.
Mhm.
And, you know, they need water to cool these data systems off, and they're going to be pulling that from the Mississippi, pulling it from the ground. There's a lot of benefits for them. There's not a lot of benefits for us.
Right.
I mean, me personally, I'm not that affected by it, aside from just, you know, the turmoil in the community, I guess. I live far enough away that I'm not affected at this point. But I've talked to a lot of people, and it's definitely a lot more negative than positive.
And I've heard people that didn't really understand the impact of what was gonna happen, just kinda innocently saying stuff like, "Oh, my eyes are really burning this pollen season," stuff like that. But,
Mhm.
and it smells like gas outside all the time, or like, it's like, they're so dusty, but it's such a massive project, all those things are residual, that's a result of that. But, is it called Hyperion? Is that the name of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It says it's expected to use up to 5 gigawatts of computational power, which is massive. That's like,
Yeah, I would suggest that anyone interested go check out Drew Hawkins. He's been reporting on a lot of this as well. He and I have been in touch. He's doing an amazing job. He's actually set up like air quality and soil quality detectors in Holly Ridge to see how clean the air and the soil is.
yeah.
And he's doing health studies. I don't believe the results are in yet, but yeah, I mean, you can see the interviews that he's doing with some of the elderly residents there who, they're having issues just from the dust alone, and not to mention the other elements that are starting to, as they power things up, that are starting to affect the residents locally.
That's the gentleman that, from TikTok that I sent you, right?
Probably, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what's his name again?
Drew Hawkins.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, when I see videos about it, I read through the comments, and of course, there's always like half the people are locals that are saying it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Why do you think that is? That seems to be like the rhetoric. Is it just because of like people's political influences, or?
Yeah, I think I have a couple of opinions. I think, there's always going to be people that no matter what happens, they're going to support the politicians that they voted for who are
Right.
making these decisions. Like, even if that's not the majority, but those people always exist and they always talk the loudest.
Mhm.
And they will never admit that, something might not be good just because they can't admit that they might have voted wrong.
Mhm.
But then there's also a portion of the community who I see that are financially stable, and they have the resources to invest and to create more income for themselves.
Mhm.
They have that like pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality, which is a
Yeah.
great mentality to have, but not everyone can afford that. And especially when things are changing as rapidly as they are here.
Yeah.
So I think, you have a population of people who have the financial means to adapt. And
Mhm.
then you have the laborers who, there are people locally that are getting jobs. It's not
Yeah.
completely made up of implant workers, but there are people who are benefiting, and so of course, you know, they're happy, and that's great. I'm happy for those people. You know, I'm glad that there are people who are finding success through this project. I think what people don't see though is what I see or what Drew Hawkins sees, like the people that go out and talk to the ones that are affected. It's not just like, oh, I missed out on a good job. It's like I was forced out of my home. My
Hmm.
rent has tripled. My income
I
has
have
not.
pneumonia. Yeah.
You know, I'm getting sick, or I
Yeah.
lost my family farmland that was in our family for 200 years. Like,
Right.
you know, just the stories and the impact, just one story alone is so impactful that it's hard to deny, you know, the hundreds and possibly thousands of people who have been negatively impacted by this. And, you know, I think a project of this size, like it comes with negative and positive always. But what frustrates me is the lack of attention on the negative by our political leaders.
Hmm.
They're like refusing to admit that that there is a negative. You know, I was privy to a conversation recently between a local leader and a resident who was pushed out of her home, and he was like, "Oh, I had no idea this was happening." That's not true. Like, yes, you do. You know that this is happening. People are talking about it nonstop. And if you don't know, then you don't need to be a leader in our community because
You're not
it's
listening.
you're
Yeah.
not listening. Um, so yeah, you know, that's where it's frustrating for me is the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability. If you're going to bring a project this size in, then you need to be prepared to take care of the people who are already here before you
Right.
accommodate to people who are coming in.
Yeah. And I think that's how this kind of corruption happens, is because everybody's just thinking about their own pocket, their own families, their own interests and everything. And if
Sure.
more people saw the bigger picture and actually cared about other people and had some empathy, then, we'd be able to pull together and fix stuff like this. But on that note too, and I know it's getting dark, I was gonna mention, I ran into some people last night who are part of, what is it, the Delta Delta Regional Alliance,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's what it's called. I
Yeah.
had heard the name before, and I didn't really know what it was, but it's basically a group of 8 states, all Southern Bible Belts, states and counties, parishes, whatever, that have the highest poverty rates. And there's a representative from each of these counties or parishes, and they kind of go on tours. It's like a tour of poverty. And so they put all 30 of these people up at the Hotel Monroe for several nights.
Yeah.
This hotel is, I don't know, it's like, let me look it up so I don't say it wrong. It's very expensive. Like, I don't think most people in
Yeah, it's
Monroe
a
can.
Hilton branded hotel.
Oh, it's Hilton. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
They were, taking them out to eat at the brand new sushi restaurant that I had never even heard of down, downtown. Like, and they weren't showing them anything that was unsavory. Um,
And who's profiting off of that trip?
and who's paying for it? You know,
Right.
like who's really paying for it? We are. It's taxpayer money.
Yeah.
Um, and I told a couple of these individuals, because I was talking to them. It was a bar. Um, that if you want to see Monroe, I can show you Monroe. I was like, or just step away from the tour and go south, and or go
Like a
west of
block south. You don't even have to go far.
the literal block.
Mm-hmm.
These cities, the most cities, and this is, I learned this like maybe a couple years ago, during before they had segregation, before that was law. They're divided by the highways. When they started building the highway systems, they would literally draw a line in the sand and say, this side of the highway is for the white people and this side is for the black people. And they stay like that, like to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's really sad because most of this group was white. Um,
Yeah.
I, and the majority of the population in Monroe is black, and a lot of these areas that they're representing. So
Yeah.
it feels like a big, gross irresponsibility of the leaders of these communities, like the mayors and the council members and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
to just kind of like be like, "Oh, everything's fine. Don't look," how does
Yeah,
that?
like look at the hotel that I just built off of tax incentives of these locals who can't get a job,
Yeah,
and let's go eat on their dime, but I'm not going to actually show you the shack that they're living out of because that would reflect really poorly on me.
right.
I tell people all the time whenever they say, well, they're investing $10 billion into Richland Parish. No, they're investing $10 billion into Meta. If they were investing $10 billion, they wouldn't know what to do with it in Richland Parish. They could invest $10 billion into the entire state and change actual lives. And I
Right.
understand, like, this is a private company making a private investment, so I'm not insinuating that, the government's putting this money up. But
Mhm.
if we want to talk about investing into our communities, let's talk about what that actually means. Because I promise you that we're not building a data center so that locals can get rich off of it. That's not
No,
the purpose.
absolutely not. And I know that some positive changes may happen. Like you mentioned, I heard last night, I guess I can't remember if she's told me it was a secret or not, but there are some things that will be happening for people that are like government employees or county employees that sorely need the help, that they're making good changes. But the big picture thing of it is, besides just the data center stuff, is that you can't just sweep a whole community under the rug and act like they don't exist, you know?
But they are, and that's why they're choosing areas that they're choosing. It's not coincidental, in my opinion. They're choosing areas that can't afford to fight back. If you look on the map of where these uh,
Let me pull one up.
industrial sites are going across the U.S., they're
Are
going
you
to
talking about
areas
data
that
centers
struggle
or
with. I'm sorry.
are you talking about data centers only or just big industrial
Data
areas?
centers in general, but the economic development that you're seeing across Louisiana, but across
Uh-huh.
the U.S. as a whole, they're choosing areas that struggle with poverty, that are struggling in
Majority black
education.
ones too. And, like, South Memphis is a perfect example. There was
Hmm.
a little noise about it after they built the what is it? The X data center, XAI, whatever data center.
Hmm.
But it's kinda just been, muffled into silence, and I haven't heard anything about it since, but I know it's still going on.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I will say this before I go.
mhm,
There's real retaliation for people who speak out, for people like me.
mhm.
I have seen it firsthand. I've experienced it firsthand. I haven't backed down from it, but I totally understand why some people do. Um, they're the people, I'm going to say, of Louisiana, although I'm sure it extends far beyond that. The people of Louisiana need to wake up,
Mhm.
and you need to understand what your government is doing. You need to get involved. You need to get educated on what these bills include. They are not voting in your best interest.
I understand
Um,
why people don't want to vote or don't believe it doesn't impact them, but it's time to pay attention to that, like, now more than
yeah,
ever, honestly.
it's now or never.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know you gotta go. I know you have a family and it's getting dark there, but I really appreciate you coming on. I know it's kind of, it's the rap yard, so what am I doing here kind of thing, but I do wanna
I'm
bring more
glad to
attention
be here.
to this, yeah, in any way that I can. So,
Yeah, I'm
thank
glad
you
to
for
come back. If you want to continue the conversation another time, let me know.
yeah, for
I've enjoyed
sure.
myself.
Yeah, good. Yeah, yeah, I'd be happy to anytime. Just let me know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much. And for those who tuned in, thanks for sticking around this long to listen. I'm a yapper, so I could sit here all night if I didn't have kids to attend
Same.
to.
No, you're good. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye. I'm gonna pull up that map real quick before we skedaddle. It's kinda hard to understand just from the map, like, what's really going on. It kinda just looks like the power grid, but just so we can look at what up, C-Dub? Sorry, I missed your comment earlier. Shout out to Detroit. So, this is a map of the data centers. You can see there's, like, a highlighted area here where Shreveport is, or Monroe is, like, where the white dot is. There's a lot going on around Dallas, Fort Worth. I know they've been talking a lot about building some in the New Orleans area, but I know they've also received a lot of pushback from the locals there. So, um, to a different degree than what is being pushed back against here. So, yeah, it is what it is. Weigh in. What do you think? Data centers, good, bad? Politics, good, bad? What up, C Dub? Again. And I guess that's a wrap. So we will be back next week with some more amazing guests. If you have anything to say about this or would like me to reach out to some other people, just drop your suggestions in the comments and we'll see you next time.